Random is perfectly fine for machines. We humans hate it. So I will create a new concept for you that's probably perfectly useless. Banana riding on a bicycle. Completely random concept.
ITCS Pizzatime Podcast. Cheesy questions and juicy answers for the tech community.
Hi und herzlich willkommen zurück zum ITCS Pizzatime Podcast. Heute mit einer Keynote von Savedroid. Professor Dr. Danko Nikolić ist CDO und Head of AI und seine Keynote trägt den Titel How are our brains different from our AI? Man mag denken, dass AI heute ähnlich arbeitet wie unsere Gehirne, aber das ist nicht wirklich der Fall. Danko erklärt die Hauptunterschiede, um klar aufzuzeigen, dass der Mensch immer noch intelligenter ist als die Maschine. Viel Spaß dabei.
Thank you. Hello everybody. So let me tell you a few things first about myself. I'm currently heading AI developments at Savedroid, but for most of my adult life, I've spent time doing neuroscience, research of the brain, research of thoughts, how we think, here in Frankfurt at the Max Planck Institute. So I'm kind of the right person to see the differences between how our brains work and how our artificial intelligence systems work. And that's what I want to talk to you about, right? Today, explain you where the differences are, right? And to start that, let us consider this promise. That's a promise of AI, that one day we will have really smart robots. Some things that's like this guy who is able to take care of the whole household, right? We still don't have it. What we got today is this, right? It's not nearly, we are not there. We're not nearly there because there's lots of stuff left to be done that we still, have to do ourselves, right? And why is robotic not doing it? Like, robotic company has recently announced this robot that can do backflip. Yeah, that's impressive. But how about dishes, right? What do you think is a bigger demand on the market? For backflips or for doing dishes? How can they make more money, right? I bet it's dishes, but still, we don't have a robot that can do something like that. And that's because of something that's known as the Moravec's paradox. Basically, Moravec's paradox tells us that what is easy for machines is difficult for humans. What is easy for humans is difficult for machines, right? We are ever, again, impressed how machines do some things that are difficult for us, like a handheld calculator. When I was a kid, it was totally impressive, multiplying 8-digit numbers. But how about dishes? That's what now. So biological brains and machines work in different ways, and that's what I want to tell you about. 7 differences. Right? The first difference is the type of error. Right? Illustrate to you the type of error we humans do. Please watch. Here's an experiment. Please look at this watch and detect the moment the second hand skips. So the point is that we humans get easily distracted. We can do things quite well, quite intelligently, but what we can't do is keep our attention focused on a task forever. And that's how we make errors. That's how we make mistakes. If we make a traffic accident, it's not because we don't understand what needs to be done, but it's because somehow our attention went away. Be it during driving, be it during drinking, whatever. Attention went away, right? Machines don't make this type of error. Machines just make stupidity errors, right? So here is how Charlie Chaplin illustrated that over 100 years ago. He made this in the movie Modern Times. So at the beginning, everything was fine when they invented the machine to feed workers in a factory, and then later everything was also well. But then suddenly problems started, and the machine couldn't fix it, right? So that's the difference. Machines are stupid. We are not attentive. We are intelligent, but not really attentive forever. And that's sort of a price to pay for the intelligence, right? Difference number 2, concepts. So for a machine to develop a concept of a chair, or to recognize a chair, a deep learning network needs lots of examples of chairs, like these here. This is not enough. It needs millions of examples, and that can recognize a chair. It knows a chair. But what it cannot do is recognize unusual, weird chairs like this one, or that one, or this one, of that one. If they were not in a training set, they cannot recognize them. We can. We have no problems, right? I have more weird chairs like this one and that one. This is all a problem for the machine, right? Because we develop a concept of a chair, machines just memorize the features that chairs typically have. Because our concept of a chair has to do with sitting. A thing I can sit on, right? I can make this a chair if I decide to sit on it, right? That's how we understand the chair. It doesn't have any physical features. It's something that puts our body in a certain position. And there are different types of chairs because of the different positions of the body, different levels of comfort, and so on. That's how we understand the chair, completely different. And we can utilize concepts much better than the machines. Like, consider this kid who has seen a car for the first time in his life. The car has a chair, but also has other things, the steering wheel, wheels, and so on. And he's playing with it, and he acquires the concept of a car. After that, we show to the kid this picture and say it's a car. For kid, it's perfectly understandable it's a car. Try this with a deep learning network that has seen millions of examples of pictures of a car with this drawing. It couldn't do anything with this drawing, right? It gets even better for humans. You can tell to this kid, draw this, and ask him what that is. And if the kid has ever played once with a train, it would understand immediately that this is a train, right? Or you can go even better. I can go back and say, nah, it's not a car anymore. This is now a table with 2 chairs. Fine. A switch in the mind, immediately, without any problems, right? The kid applies a new concept to the same stimulus. And then again, to this one becomes not a train anymore, but this is now a classroom, for example, or a restaurant scene or something like that, right? Applying concepts to the inputs from the outside world. That's what we can do. And this is what makes us smarter and more intelligent than the machines. And we have lots of concepts. One of the most important one is the concept of self, but also we have a very important concept. It's the concept of time. That's really important in our life. We organize all the events somehow in time. They happen at some point, and we have to have a lot of stuff to work with that. Also, person's profession has a rich set of concepts and so on, right? That's how we are intelligent, with all these concepts. Also, self-awareness. Self-awareness is sometimes considered to be the highest level of intelligence, right? But it's basically a concept of a self that we have and machines don't, right? There's some time in a history, at some point, it happened for the first time that someone was aware of himself or herself, right? This happened through development of a concept. That was when the first time the concept of self has been created. Difference number 3, context. We are very sensitive to context. We humans love context. Machines don't care about context, right? Machines are contextless. So for the purpose of this presentation, I made a little test. I asked Cortana, what is the capital of Germany? And she told me correctly, Berlin. And then I used the context and said, and of France, asking whether she would understand the context of talking about capitals. And she answered, I pulled some images of France for you. Right? So this simple context, Cortana didn't understand. And I played a little bit also with other assistants. None of them really understands context. Right? Random is perfectly fine for machines. We humans hate it. If you talk to assistants and ask random questions, they don't care. They'll just do their job. They're not frustrated. They don't get angry. But try asking humans random questions. Try it with your spouse. You will very soon see that this is not a good idea. People like stories. People like consistency. People like context, right? Deep learning likes random. Now we come to the 5th difference, and this is how we learn. So to give you an idea, I created a movie to give you an idea of what is it like to be a deep neural network when it's training, when it's learning something, right? I literally Googled random images, got a bunch of random images, and then divided them into living and non-living. And I created a training material that you would normally use for training deep learning, but now I'm making a movie to train you, right? To see what it's like to be a machine. This is for reinforcement learning, if you know what that is. So it wasn't very pleasant, probably. You don't remember much anyway, right? Because it was all random. And for machines, it's really good. It actually has to be random. If you don't randomize it, it will not learn well. That's how the algorithms work. But we humans like the story. So I'll just take right now what I will do. I'll take exactly the same images, but then I make a story out of these images, a human story, exactly the same sequence. And the story goes like this. Once upon a time lived a dwarf named Pipito. Pipito had a dog, Barfi. One day, they hit the road and tossed a coin to decide where to go, and decided to reach Antarctica. They didn't trust airplanes. So they traveled through Africa by train. When they reached South Africa, they waited for a boat. While waiting, they went for a dive, and they met Horatius, who took them to Antarctica on his back. Success. Exactly the same, what appears to be a random sequence, a set of random images rearranged to make a story. Now you remember the images. Now this makes sense to you, right? To machines, of course, this story doesn't make any, it's useless. Also, it's very important to understand that even when we are presented with a static image, right, so there's no temporal sequence, there's a static image, we understand this image by building internally a sequence of percepts. We first perceive one thing, then the other thing, then the next thing. By looking around, we are building a context and we are building a story. And that's what people do. And this famous image by a Russian artist, he put a lot of effort to create an image that really tells a deep story. If you look, it takes 5-10 minutes to look at an image to tell what kind of story it is. I don't have time to tell you everything about it, but you can see that everybody's looking at this person and expecting something to happen. The name of the painting is They Did Not Expect Him. And the neuroscientists did research on where people look while watching this image. And that's where their eyes gaze, mostly in the faces, because most of the interaction comes from where who is looking. This gives a lot of meaning to the entire story, right? Difference number 5. Creating new concepts on the fly. So not only that we have concepts, but we can create new ones when we need them. That's how we learn stuff. We learn through creating new concepts as well. So I will create a new concept for you that's probably perfectly useless. Banana riding on a bicycle. Completely random concept. But I can create it for you first by using this drawing, but this drawing is not so powerful. I'll make a story for you, a really short story for you. Like, there is a poor village in Africa, and people work hard and have to walk long distances to get things they need for their homes. And also, they sell bananas and they have to transfer them long distances. And for that, they use bicycles, and these bananas ride on the bicycles. So I now made a story for you. I have also invoked some emotions. This actually builds a new useless concept for you, right? Difference number 6, working memory. So we have this working memory where we can remember only a few numbers, like a phone number or something, right? So it looks like it's useless. Like, how is it useful to remember 5 numbers if computer can remember billion without any point? But our working memory is not about memory. Our working memory is a place where we activate these concepts, only small number, let's say 4 or 5 concepts, but this is when they interact. This is when they combine. This is when they create new ideas, new concepts, new solutions to the problems. That's the place of working memory. Right? So to illustrate how little capacity in working memory we have, I have a task for you. So be ready, and you will see something very briefly, and then comes the task. What has changed? The yellow and red changed places. Okay, so most people should be able to get that if you have paid attention. But now I'll give you another task, showing you that you need concepts, that working memory works with concepts. Here's another one. Ready? Was this one shown or not? No idea. Unless you know how to use Chinese characters. Any people in the audience who know how to use Chinese characters? One person. They can tell it. They can tell, of course, because they have the concept for these characters that you have seen. We Europeans don't. I even turned around the symbol here in the test. Doesn't seem to be a problem. For Chinese, it's completely impossible for us to solve this problem. Right? The last difference number 7, number of things that we can deal with rapidly. So far, first I told you something that where we are worse than the machines and some example. Then I give you lots of examples how we are more intelligent and better than machines. Now I'm giving you again one example of where machines are better. Right? Where is laying 5 and laying 2? Can you tell a difference? And can you find a laying 2? But now find it in this image. It's very hard for us. Somebody has found it. Usually, it takes time, or you just have luck and you randomly look in the right position. But why is it so hard? For machines, that's very easy to write a piece of code that will just scan through the image and find it. For us, it's really hard. But why is it hard? Because we don't work like machines, number 1. And number 2 is because we apply the concepts, the same context, the same machinery that makes us intelligent, we apply also to the problems that maybe don't require this machinery. But still, that's all we have. We have this intelligent machinery. So when you're looking for 2 among 5s, the whole machinery of intelligence is working there, and it's able to recognize all kinds of different things, all kinds of relationships, make all kinds of inferences, super intelligent stuff that machines cannot do, and it's useless. It's just working, finding nothing, because this is intentionally made in such a way that nothing happens, that is difficult for us. So there is always some disadvantages that come with intelligence, right? So let's get to some conclusions. The brain and machines work in fundamentally different ways. Only we use concepts, context, and stories. Machines are not anywhere close to reaching human intelligence right now. It's very different stuff. Maybe one day, maybe we can copy, figure out how the brain works, and then put this into machines, but we are not there at all. So this means that for foreseeable future, humans will have jobs, and we as Savedroid have jobs for you guys, and machines will not take over these jobs, right? And when we were speaking on dishwashing, I was telling to my daughter yesterday about my dishwashing story about this, and then she pointed out to this video where how biological intelligence is smarter than machine intelligence than dishwashers, even it doesn't have to be human. So here's a video of a monkey doing dishwashing. Still doing much better job than the robot would ever, any robot today would ever do. Okay, good. So, at the end, reminder, we have these positions open. You can check out over there. We hire human intelligence, not machines, not robots, maybe monkeys, I don't know. We didn't discuss that. So thank you very much.
Thanks to you, Danko.
Das war's für heute und das war auch der offizielle Beweis dafür, dass wir immer noch die Oberhand haben. Ich hoffe, es hat euch gefallen. Wenn ja, lasst uns gerne eine Bewertung da. Schreibt einen Kommentar oder schreibt uns Nachrichten auf Instagram oder Twitter. Wir würden uns sehr darüber freuen. Jedes Feedback ist erwünscht. Und ihr könnt uns gerne sagen, welchen Speaker, welche Firma, welches Thema ihr als nächstes hören wollt. Wir versuchen das für euch umzusetzen. Also, bis dahin. Ciao.
ITCS Pizzatime Podcast.